Look, it was only going to be so long before we're all like, Caitlin Clark's got to be back.
She better get back soon because out of sight, out of mind.
We all expected the WNBA to feel Caitlin Clark's absence, but now we know just how deep the impact really is. The latest WNBA TV ratings are in, and if there was ever any doubt about the Caitlin Clark effect, it's officially vanished. In reverse. While casual fans scroll through TikToks of Angel Reese missing wide-open layups, they're not tuning in to the actual games. Viewership is dropping fast, and the warning signs are turning into full-blown alarm bells. It's starting to feel like panic time, not just for the league, but for the players, too. We saw the cracks forming early on. Now, the dam has burst, and with the breaking news of Caitlin Clark's return, which I'll dive into in just a moment, the contrast is about to become impossible to ignore. This isn't just a comeback. It's a shift in momentum. We're about to witness history unfold, and once it does, there's no going back. Hit that like button to celebrate Caitlin's return, and don't forget to subscribe for everything you need to know about Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever, and the future of the WNBA.
Oh wow, as is not good.
The initial shock of Caitlin Clark's injury may have faded, but its impact is still rippling through the league. Without her in the lineup, it's been a roller coaster for the Indiana Fever. They dropped their first 2 games without her, including a rough loss to the previously winless Connecticut Sun. Then came a glimmer of hope, a solid bounce-back win over the rising Mystics, followed by a dominant showing against the Chicago Sky. But just when it looked like they might be finding their rhythm, the Fever stumbled again, falling to the Atlanta Dream in a game that exposed more than just rust. I'll break down the on-court issues in a moment, because what's happening in Indiana is having a bigger effect on the entire league than most people realize. And let's be honest, anyone paying attention to the WNBA knew this was coming. The moment Caitlin missed any real time, the league was going to feel it. And now, those cracks are starting to show.
I can personally confirm the pronounced change in interest in Fever games without Clark. A week ago, I bought 4 tickets on StubHub to take my sports-playing nieces to the Fever Mystics game in Baltimore. The tickets in the same row are now less than half of what I paid.
The moment news broke that Caitlin Clark would be out, ticket prices for the Fever's game against the Sky in Chicago absolutely tanked. Prices started dropping fast, like a rock. We started hearing reports of families canceling trips, changing weekend plans, even requesting refunds. And as soon as those stories started circulating, you could see it coming a mile away. The old guard jumping at the chance to bash the new fans. And sure enough, they didn't waste a second.
There was one quote in one of the front office sports articles. It's unclear whether the teams will provide any compensation for fans who bought tickets to their games. And I was like, what? Grow up.
So here we have WNBA legend Sue Bird and her wife Megan Rapinoe telling fans to grow up. Brilliant move, right? These are the same fans who are poised to drive WNBA salaries through the roof after the next CBA, and now they're being mocked for wanting to see the very player they paid to watch. Let's be real. These tickets weren't going for just 10 or 15% above face value. People paid hundreds of dollars, not for a team, not for a matchup, but for Caitlin Clark. And when she was ruled out, some of those same seats were being resold for under $10. That's not a price drop, that's a collapse. It's like buying front row tickets to Harry Styles, and then being told, actually, Kyle from accounting will be filling in with some covers. Okay, maybe not that bad, but you get the point. Of course, fans are upset, but it gets worse.
Injuries are a part of it. Again, I get it. It sucks. If you bought a ticket to see somebody and they're hurt, I get it. That is like a big bummer. But no, you would never say that about men's sports. If LeBron was out or Steph Curry or the big names were out for a couple weeks, they would never be like, oh, we're going to reimburse you guys. Sorry about that. Now you're just not taking the WNBA as a business. You're not seeing it as a business. So I'm like, yeah, she's hurt. It sucks. And the league will continue to go on.
Are we really going to start talking about respecting the WNBA as a business? Because if we're being honest, the league hasn't exactly treated itself like a business. At least not until Caitlin Clark came onto the scene. For years, the WNBA survived on significant financial support from the NBA. But the Caitlin Clark effect? It doesn't need handouts. She, along with the millions of fans she's brought into the fold, is the league's clearest and only path out of Povertyville. This is the moment the WNBA has been waiting decades for. And somehow, they still don't seem to get it. You don't alienate the engine that's driving your growth. You fuel it. You protect it. You build around it. That's how you treat it like a business.
Here comes Clark in transition. Clark, pull up three. You bet!
This was a watershed moment for the WNBA. Over 1.3 million fans tuned in just to watch an Indiana Fever exhibition game, and the momentum only grew from there. Viewership peaked at a staggering 3.3 million during the Fever's showdown with the Liberty. But now, the contrast between that high and what we're seeing without Caitlin Clark is almost hard to believe. We've already covered ticket prices, the first major sign that fan behavior and spending are shifting. But there's another metric that the league should be paying close attention to. One that rarely gets headlines but reveals a lot about what's really happening behind the scenes.
Betting interest on Fever games dropped as much as 50% last week at sportsbooks when star guard Caitlin Clark was out. The amount wagered on the Fever's 2 games last year at Caesars Sportsbook was roughly half as much as the team's first 4 games of the season.
Clark's injury, WNBA betting has dropped off a cliff, unless, of course, you're placing money on Angel Reese to miss her first layup. More on that in a minute, and yes, it actually matters. But here's the bigger picture. Fans aren't just spending less of their money on the WNBA. What comes next is even worse. They're starting to invest less of their time.
Even as good as that rating was, Caitlin Clark's good for about 1 million extra
The
viewers.
Nielsen ratings, viewership for nationally televised WNBA games has plummeted, down a staggering 55% since Caitlin Clark's quad injury during the Fever's 90-88 loss to the New York Liberty on May 24th. Zoom in on the Fever specifically, and the numbers get even more brutal. Since Clark was sidelined, nationally televised Fever games have lost 53% of their audience. Before the injury, they were pulling in an average of 1.8 million viewers. Now, just 847,000. That's not a dip. That's a free fall. Now, to be fair, on major national broadcasts like CBS, Fever fans are still showing up, but the overall trend is crystal clear and deeply concerning for the league.
And a lot of people thought, well, nobody's going to support the Fever now that Caitlin Clark's not there, blah, 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 blah. These new fans aren't helping because they're not tuning in for games if Caitlin Clark's not involved. No horseshit. That officially dispels that.
Still managed to pull in an impressive 1.92 million viewers. On paper, that sounds solid, but put it in context. Their previous matchup with Caitlin Clark drew 2.7 million. Now think about what this game had going for it, tension, drama, lingering storylines from their season opener. That first meeting had it all. Angel Reese frustrated over a foul, probably because it forced her to actually finish an easy shot, and we know how that usually ends. Then came 10 straight days of headlines, heated debates, hate speech, and even investigations. You can't help but think, if Caitlin had played in this rematch, the numbers could have shattered records. Instead, the ratings spike she created is quickly evaporating, and you can bet the WNBA is panicking, for a few reasons. First, the league's other young star, the one we just mentioned, isn't exactly shining.
Angel Reese is actually an embarrassment for women's basketball. She is so unskilled. There are so many laughable videos. She's become a meme and a punchline, and people keep trying to run her out there like she's the best and the brightest. At some point, enough is going to be enough, and you think these girls would wise up and be like, this woman's actually a problem for us. She diminishes the game. Caitlin Clark elevates.
It isn't just that the league isn't getting a boost from Angel Reese, it's that things are actually moving in reverse. Despite the drop-off, the WNBA continues to prop her up as a rising star, and the media keeps playing along, hyping her at every turn. One of the most revealing examples? CBS Sports. They posted highlights from her game against the Fever. But here's the catch. She only had 2 scoring plays worth showing, and they posted both of them. One of those, plays, an uncontested layup, and somehow they still captioned it, making it look easy. And then there's this.
Yesterday afternoon, BET announced that they were honoring Angel Reese with their Sportswoman of the Year award. The announcement itself was enough to cause confusion, but the confusion was magnified when people realized it was the 3rd consecutive year that Angel Reese was given.
Most recently, Angel Reese was named BET's Sportswoman of the Year. And get this. She won it over Aja Wilson, a 3-time MVP and 2-time WNBA champion. The internet was stunned. Some thought they were being pranked. Now let's be clear. This isn't a shot at Angel. But the ongoing media push to elevate her into superstar status, despite very real flaws in her fundamentals, is starting to backfire. Every time she misses a routine layup, it goes viral. Every time a media outlet hypes up a basic play, fans are calling it out. And while that might create buzz online, it's not converting into ticket sales or viewership, certainly not at Caitlin Clark levels. In fact, it may be moving the league backward. Angel might actually benefit from less spotlight and more time to develop her game. Because here's the reality. On-court performance matters, especially when expectations are sky high. And when players fall short, casual fans check out. And based on what we're seeing with the Fever right now, the warning signs are already flashing.
Wow, the Indiana Fever are just not fun to watch without Caitlin Clark.